Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. How many times have I said in these videos, if you don't pay attention to Japanese boxing, you are missing out. There is no better example of this than the absolutely superb fight between Kenshiro Teraji and Seigo Yuri. I think it's pronounced Akui, I think it is. This was a unification fight, flyweights. WBC, Teraji, Akui, WBA. Amazing fight. Took place this morning being 13th of March, 2025. What a brilliant fight. It was won by Kenshiro Teraji with a final round stoppage. And poor old Akui must be absolutely heartbroken because he did nothing wrong in this fight. He was winning the fight. I had him 7 rounds to 4 up after 11. But technically, this was brilliant. You know, we talk a lot about Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev. Yeah, you know, great fight. I mean, marvelous. You know, the rivalry's fantastic. 2 opposing styles. These guys they didn't have the same style, but they had similar-ish. It wasn't like one was the hunter and one was the it wasn't bull and matador stuff. But this is up there as fight of the year. This is going to be up there, surely. And like I say, this was a unification. Now, I don't remember ever seeing Akui before. I must have done. Because when I mentioned this in a previous video, I couldn't remember him. Couldn't remember ever seeing him. I looked at his box record. I didn't recognise anything that I'd seen. But I know I've seen Teraji plenty of times. And this was... this really was a terrific fight. Teraji, in case you're not familiar with him, he now has 25 wins with 16 KOs. One defeat, which was a 10th round TKO to Masamichi Yabuki, and then he avenged that the following year being 2022, with a 3rd round stoppage. So it was seen as an aberration, but you have to say with Teraji, he's not difficult to hit. You can clip him and you can beat him up and stop him. And Akui seemed to know this. Believe it or not, Teraji is called the amazing boy because he looks so young. He looks like he's about fucking 11. In fact, he's 33, which used to be ancient for a flyweight. I don't know about now, with modern, you know, training methods and dietitians and all this sort of thing, dieting and strength and conditioning. Akui, 29 years old, he came in with 21 wins, 2 defeats and 1 draw, and was clearly the underdog. And like I say, for most of the fight, I thought he was winning it. I really did. Now, Teraji has a sort of quite a loose style. He bounces a bit. There's a bit of, you know, bit of jitterbugging going on. Whereas Akui, far more static, stationary, lots of straight punches, moves forward, little steps forward, has sort of Mike McCallum feet where he gets in a position and then fires very sort of textbook punches. Teraji a bit more, I don't know, instinctive, shall we say. I mean, I thought Teraji edged the first round just a little bit. They were really having a look at each other, but I thought the slightly flashier, slightly heavier, slightly more accurate work came from Teraji. But then from the 2nd to the 6th round, I gave all those rounds to Akui. I thought Akui was letting his hands go more. He was very, very accurate. He was catching Teraji flush. The pace from both of them was considerable. I mean, you know, for flyweight, you expect it to be quite fast, but really good, exciting pace. But I thought Akui is really boxing beautifully here. Nice, but never lost his shape. Nice positioning of his feet. Orthodox fighter, Akui, as is Teraji. So they weren't stepping on each other's feet. And it was just a really nice, beautiful bit of boxing from Akui. And I thought he was containing Teraji. And he was in the middle rounds. I thought, there's some real questions being asked of Teraji here. Because Teraji is one of those fighters who, apart from Naoya Inoue, is very highly thought of in Japan. He's an exciting guy. He's always an exciting fighter because of his style. He is kind of easy to hit. But he throws tons and tons of punches, and win, lose or draw, he'll have a go. He'll have a good old go, and he'll give you your money's worth. Well, I thought there were questions being asked of Teraji in the middle rounds, not unlike, you know, when Daniel Dubois fought Big Farmer Miller. And in the middle round, you thought Miller's coming on strong here. And especially as in his previous fight, Daniel had, quit against Usyk and just completely mentally unraveled. You were thinking, if Teraji gets pushed back, he's in trouble. But just as Dubois did against Miller, in the 7th round, out comes Teraji, and he ups the ante. He's firing even more punches. He's being even more productive, more pronounced. He's going through the gears, essentially. And fair play to Akui. He went with him, It was noticeable after the 7th round that Akui was beginning to look a little bit tired. And there were some abrasions on his face. But, at the end of the fight, he did look a bit, not any cuts, any really big cuts, maybe a few nicks, but it was mostly swellings and welts on his face. But he carried on, going with Teraji. He kept his boxing together. And again, they were highly competitive rounds, don't get me wrong. I don't think one fighter really fully dominated any round up until the final round, in which there was a stoppage. Now, that's not to say that there weren't rounds sort of clearly won, but it wasn't as if there were no knockdowns. No one was really severely buzzed. And you were thinking, who's going to win this fight? Who's going? This is that, which of course is the essence of a really entertaining fight, because you're never sure who's going to win. Well, as we crept into the so-called championship rounds, 10, 11, and 12, like I say, I had Akui winning. Akui, when he was landing flush, and Teraji had this sort of curly, longish hair, and it was flying around everywhere, and you could see, the punches landing because the head would, the sweat would fly off the hair. And you thought Akui might have this. The underdog might be there to take this fight. And coming into the last round, you thought maybe Teraji needs a knockout, or knocked down at least, or maybe two, and he went for it. And he went into top gear, just let the punches go. And about a minute in, finally, Akui looked like he was either very fatigued or a bit hurt. And he actually fell in. He tried to grab and hold Teraji after about a minute. And you were thinking he's either running out of gas or he's been buzzed. Well, Teraji didn't let him off the hook. He continued battering him. And then the referee stepped between them with Akui still on his feet and stopped it. And my immediate reaction was, that's premature. That's very, very premature. Very premature. However, after the fight, Akui sat down in the ring and looked absolutely shattered and exhausted and didn't complain about the stoppage. So it is possible that the referee did see something in the eyes of Akui, because Akui did have a rather vacant look in his eyes. He looked absolutely shattered, as you would expect, but he must be heartbroken because he didn't put a foot wrong. It's just that in the final round, Teraji had more energy left. The amazing boy, amazing's right. He was throwing punches by the skipful, and still, Akui was holding his shape, trying to box nicely. It was only right at the end that he was trying to grab and hold and fall in and looked like he might be about to unravel. And then the referee stepped in and stopped it. It did look like a premature stoppage, but like I say, Akui did look absolutely done. Yeah, absolutely done, and did not complain, or neither did his corner. These are both Japanese fighters, and Japanese fighters aren't renowned for complaining about decisions or anything. They accept it. But credit to Teraji, he never lost heart. He really answered a lot of questions in this fight. And like I say, this wasn't just a great fight. It was a unification fight, WBC, WBA belts. And Akui, who, again, I can't remember ever seeing him before. I might have done. I watched so much boxing, and perhaps I've forgotten. And sometimes the Japanese names, I get them a little bit confused in my head, typically ignorant Englishman. I might have seen him before, but I'll tell you what, he made a believer out of me. And believe it or not, this is the third stoppage of his career, because in 2017 he got stopped in 6 rounds by Junto Nakatani. No shame in that, because he's another very, very good Japanese fighter. And then he got stopped in 8 rounds the following, was it 8 rounds? I think it was 8 rounds. I think it was 8 rounds, and he got stopped in 8 rounds by an unknown fighter, a journeyman fighter, I can't remember the name of. But this is his third defeat. But, at 29, he needs a long, long rest. But he showed a lot in there. So if you haven't seen this fight, go and have a look at it. I was at work. I didn't watch it live, but I didn't know the result. Came home, watched it on YouTube. It's on YouTube at the moment, and Go and have a look at it, because you will not be disappointed. Again, yet again, Japanese boxing delivers. At the highest level, the highest skill level, the highest excitement level. Go and have a look at it and let me know what you think. Comments below, please. I'd love to hear what you think about both these fighters. If you haven't seen them before, you'll be fans of them both by the end of it. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and please hit the like button, because that helps us out a great deal. And yeah, I'm looking forward to, like I say, to reading your comments. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and bye for now.